Good afternoon, sophomores. This is Mr. Van Dyke coming to you on this ACP day. And as I'm talking to you, I would assume that you have just either completed a Google form or you're working your way through as a class on a Google form right now. Could be either one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that Google form and provide a little bit of elaboration on each one of the answers. And I know the Google form is entitled 12 Things All Sophomores Should Know. I understand that, and some might be saying, college basics, 12 things all sophomores should know. And some might be saying, well, I'm not going to go to college, so this isn't really for me. That's okay. That's okay. It's not bad to have the information. It's not bad to know about the world around you. And also do know that come next fall, roles will be reversed a little bit, and we're going to have a half day, or at least we plan to have a half day, talking about all things not four-year college. And there will be some four-year college people in there, so roles will be reversed. But anyway, we're going to go through this because we think it's important information to get out. Everyone has the right to know it, and really it's our kind of our job to make sure you get some of this information. So 12 things all colleges should know, and probably especially applicable to get this information a little bit before scheduling for junior year, as people are thinking a little bit about the future, at least some are. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to go through the form. I'm going to try to take about 3 seconds between questions in case teachers are going through one by one, so that they can pause me. But as we go through them, we're going to start with the very first one. How many four-year universities are there in the UW system is the question. And the answer to that, we got several choices here. Obviously, the fourth answer is not correct. Franny is not a number, and it says how many. The correct answer would be 13. 13 universities in the UW system. There's a basic picture of them right here. You can't get them all on the same screen, but you can get most of them. Closest ones to us are Oshkosh and UWGB, Stevens Point being next, but there's 13 altogether, and there's a lot of places that you can look that up if you don't know that already. We'll share a couple resources at the very end. Okay. Question number 2 is how many four-year in the private university system? And that answer would be 20. There are 20 universities. Technically, if you want to get really technical about it, there's more than that. There's 23, but one's a seminary school, one's a 2-year school, and one's just a whole different variety of school that we wouldn't normally consider going to in the traditional sense. So the answer is 20 on that. Third question, could a person get a 4-year degree without starting at a 4-year institution right out of high school? I think the answer is pretty obvious. There's 4 ways to do that. The answer, of course, is yes. A person could take a gap, could take some time off of school. There are some nuances with that pros and cons to that. They could take a year or 2 off of school. Another way would be to go into the military, and the military basically would pay for your schooling in most cases. So that's a way that some people take advantage of a financial opportunity. And there's 2 other ways where people can go basically the first year or 2 on the cheap. One has a little bit of advantage over the other, but the 2 other ways are starting at a technical college for 1 or 2 years and then transferring up into a 4-year university, or starting at what's called a 2-year extension, which you may not totally understand the difference between them, but I will explain that a little bit later. Okay, next question on the docket is 4-year colleges would like students to have a certain number of academic units. What is considered an academic unit? So if you see the word academic unit in some admissions requirement as you're looking at schools when they say academic units, if you see the word academic unit, what academic unit means is social studies, science, math, English, or foreign language. Those are considered academic units. Most schools, and it's right here on this UW Help website, which we've touched on a little bit, which is really a very good website. If you would go into maybe a place called Preparing for College and click on that, it will tell you how many academic units in general that people, the schools are going to want. Preparing for College, under requirements here, it'll give you a little line on that as far as how many academic units, and it'll talk about, again, English, math, natural science, social studies, history, and foreign language is the other one considered academic. You see that these add up to 13. They want 13 credits for sure between English, math, natural science, and social studies. That's a minimum for any of the schools. To be safe in the UW system, you probably want 15 credits between those 4 academic areas and foreign language. Every school is going to read a little bit different, and obviously, you're probably going to want. If I said 14, I meant 15 credits between those. That's the minimum. Of course, the more competitive schools like Madison are going to want more, and there's schools that are less competitive that certainly you can slide in. You can slide in with a little bit less than 15 credits. So 15 academic units anyway. So, but anyway, this is a great site if you want to look at admissions and credits and what people need and things like that. The UW system website here, the UW Help website is a great site. Here again are the requirements on another link, and you could select any campus you wanted and scroll down, and they would tell you what their requirements are. And again, you'll see the same things. In general, 15 is a pretty safe number for your typical universities in UW system. That's not saying people can't slide in with 14 or 13 and a half. We make you take 13 and a half in Brilliant, so you don't have a choice to have less than that. But 15 is a pretty safe number as you're looking. If you're going to go like to the more competitive schools like Madison or La Crosse, you're going to want to have more than that. You're going to want to have 17, 18, maybe even 19 at those schools. But those are the most competitive. The general schools, 15 is a pretty good rule of thumb. So the minimum math requirement at most four-year universities, this will be a quick one. It is 3 years through Algebra 2. 3 years through Algebra 2. If you said 3 years, there's a little bit more to it. You got to have 3 years through Algebra 2 to get through. Average high school GPA of high school students accepted at Stevens Point, and I picked Stevens Point because they are at the exact middle school in the system. The average high school GPA at Stevens Point was 3.41. You could find that on UW Help if you wanted. You could look at school profiles, campus profiles, and hit Stevens Point, and that would show you the 3.41. Madison is 3.9. So when we talk about academic units, it only matters if you're going to get a high enough GPA to get into Madison. So their middle 50% is 3.8 to 4.0. But Stevens Point is 3.41. That's their average, and that's your typical school. That's not the bottom. People get in with below that, but 3.41 is the average. Most challenging and least challenging schools in UW system, the easiest to get into and the hardest, are going to be right here. UW, Madison, and Superior. Madison, again, has an average GPA of 3.9, average ACT score of 28.2. Superior, probably an average GPA of about 3.1, something like that. But those are the hardest and easiest. But I'm going to move on. How many Wisconsin universities have a foreign language requirement in the UW system? That is one. One, it's UW-Madison and UW-Madison only. UW-Madison requires 2 years of a single foreign language to walk in the door, along with their higher competitive numbers of having a 3.8 to 4.0 mid 50% GPA and a 28.2 ACT. But they're the only ones with a specific. That's not to say foreign language can't help you somewhere else. There are 3 schools in the system that say if you don't take it in high school, we're going to have to take a couple semesters here. Those are Platteville, Milwaukee, and Parkside. The other 9 don't really say anything about a requirement either way. Again, there are some little advantages you can have. One is foreign language can count as an academic unit, which bumps you up a little bit there if you take a year or 2 or 3. The other thing is there's something called retroactive credit, which we'll talk about personally junior and senior year. Just another advantage that possibly could come with taking a foreign language. How many ways are there to obtain high school college credit based on the stuff you do in high school? We have 4 ways. There are 4 general ways. There might be more than that if you get technical, but based on the work you do inside of high school, we have the CAP program, CAP classes, which are UW Oshkosh classes. We have AP classes, which a couple of you are in right now even. AP classes, you take a big test and there's a chance to get some college credit there. There is a third way is that retroactive credit through Spanish. Basically, what that means is if you take several years of Spanish and start college at a high level in Spanish, you might get credit for that high level and the Spanish classes below it at the same time. And the fourth way you can get credit is we do have some classes that run through Fox Valley Tech, and through a double transfer agreement, which is kind of interesting. You can end up getting credits at some, but not all universities, depending on the class. For instance, Miss Bushman has a marketing class, and here I'm looking it up in a place called Transferology, and her marketing class turns into Fox Valley Tech marketing credit, which then turns into UWGB marketing credit as well. So there's 4 ways to do it. That's one of them. So anyway, AP, CAP, double transfers from Fox Valley Tech, and retroactive credit are possible ways to pull that off. So this one's important, I think. What is the difference between Fox Valley Tech and UW Fox cities? The answer is one is built to transfer. The other one is built to get a 1 or 2 year degree. So a lot of people will say, I'm going to go to Fox Valley Tech for 2 years and transfer and save money. That's okay. It's not built for that purpose. So sometimes there's chinks in the armor. Sometimes you get some credits that don't count as much. You're more likely one to count more cleanly where all your credits do count, and you just saved a good chunk of money, is to go to UW Fox Cities for 2 years, and then move on 1 or 2 years, and then move on to the UW campus that you want. They actually have a guarantee transfer program from UW Fox and UW Manitowoc and some other schools that can get you in, get a couple years on cheap to get started, and it shouldn't, hopefully doesn't lose you any time or money. The next one's a question about the exam, about the ACT. What's the highest score you can possibly get? The highest score on that is a 36. For college, you don't have to know that right now, but as people start taking aspires and things like that and get projected ACTs, do know that maybe your typical ACT of an incoming freshman at a Stevens Point or Whitewater, 22.8, I believe, was the average at those two schools. And finally, the median cost for tuition, room, and board at a UW System University is, answer is $16,300. It's about half and half. It's about $8,000 for tuition and about $8,000 between room and board. That is a lot of money if you do the math right now. That means in 4 years, that's going to be $64,000, $65,000 just for tuition, room, and board. Just something to think about. That's their price tag. Some will get some of that knocked off through financial aid, but that is their initial price tag, and a lot of people will have to take out some decent-sized loans to get through college. But hopefully, the good job afterwards makes it makes that worthwhile. So those are some basics of four-year college. I do have some resources I think are worthwhile for you to look at if you want those. I'm going to share 3 of them through your email and on the ACP Google Classroom. They basically have like a list of all the majors that all the different schools have, if you're interested in that. So I'm going to share. There's a 140-page booklet I'm going to share, but there's a couple things that I'll share that might help you going forward. There's a booklet from private colleges with all the majors as well. So if you want to find out that information, and the UW Help website. But if you want to find any of that information or want more elaboration from me, just let me know. Okay. Thank you, and I hope this was informative.